Okay, so HQ gateway will be provided with all this information that you need to type, configure for your environment. Your line code will be provided. Your framing will be provided. Your switch type. So you must configure those elements as per the requirement. One of the things that it'll ask you to configure is called configure your gateway to take clock from layer 1. Okay, so that is like a command called network clock participant and network clock select. We need to configure those two as well. We need to make sure that the calling name is sent through the PSTN. So a lot of people, when they configure T1 or E1, it's very easy to configure, no problem. But there are some extra parameters we need to configure on our D channel to carry the caller name properly. All right. Now, we are required to verify the configuration by dialing 911 call. Okay. Now, a lot of time what happens is you simply create a regular route pattern 911, point to the gateway, test the call, it works, everything is fine. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take one step back. Based on your dial plan requirement, you are required to use local route group. Okay, so we must configure our 911 pattern only once and get it done. We don't have to revisit that. That's why the previous lab that you guys did yesterday, local route group, where it was not mentioned exactly the same picture. You remember you saying that it was in the roaming section? No. Not in the device pool. So we need that's one of the purpose of doing that, so that by the time we come to these sections, we do not have to revisit that 911 again. So we will validate that by dialing 911. But when we dial that 911, we're going to make sure that our name is displayed. Our external phone number mask is appropriate as per the requirement that says that external phone number mask should be 40820YXXXX. We're also going to be able to test the inbound call from the PSTN to our IP phone. Okay? For outbound, just dial 911. There is no need for you to dial 911 to validate. So a lot of people, sometimes people just go extra mile and try to create a 911 dial plan. We're going to register our MGCP gateway to the subscriber as a first choice in the real scenario, and publisher as a backup. In our case, we're just going to reverse because we're only using a publisher. And the call should use G711 codec. So you can see by reading this requirement that how many tasks that you have to achieve. So it's very important that you note them down. Now here's another thing. I provide you guys with the questions on a piece of paper, right? But in the exam, it's all computerized. So you have to go back and forth between the screen. So they don't give you a booklet anymore. So I would say I will provide you this in PDF as well. So use that as a practice method after today, after this week. Okay. So to configure the router side, you must define the ISDN switch type, which is a command that is missing from the top, which is called ISDN switch type primary NI. That's the first command you must type at the beginning. Just slide, I think it's got cut out. Then define your network clock participant week 2. That is your clocking. Now, how do I know what week it is going to be on? Show inventory doesn't. Show controller will be maybe. When you type show controller, look at the port number, 0/2/0 or 0/1 is the middle number. Okay. Another option is show diag. It'll tell you week slot 2. Okay. Show inventory tells you the model number. Does not tell you which slot it is in.
It should.
It should? Okay, we'll validate that. Alright. Second is network clock select. These two commands should be there in order for the clocking to work. Now, in your lab environment, you might have an IP domain name configured, which is like IP domain name cisco.com or whatever it is there in the scenario. In our case, it's voicebootcamp.com. And when you have that command, you gotta put a little alert on you gotta write down a little note saying, you know what, I gotta pay attention to this. That can cause registration problem. Okay? Call manager requires something called MGCP domain name. And the MGCP domain name is typically the name of the router. In this case, HQ. However, when you have these domain names, voicebootcamp.com, the domain name becomes hq.voicebootcamp.com. So a lot of cases what happen is people in a rush, they may forget to pay attention to that. So you want to make sure that that is something you is covered. Under the T1, type your PRI group time slot 1-24 or 4, however many channels they provide to you. In our case, we're just using only 4 channels. But in reality, it will be 24 channels. Service MGCP that provides you what? That tells you that that T1 is being controlled by MGCP process. Now, here's a good thing. In this lab right now, as of today, there is no SRST. So we don't have to worry about any SRST fallback issues. Okay? Now, once that is typed, your D channel will be activated. In that D channel, we gotta make sure that ISDN bind L3 CCM manager is configured. What that command do is bind the D channel to the call manager. Okay? So we gotta that is one key element of the registration process. Then remember the caller and the name. I tell you that the caller name, this name should be displayed properly. These 2 commands is required. ISDN outgoing display IE and ISDN outgoing redirecting number. If you do not have the display IE, your name will not be sent to the PSTN. Okay? So these commands, these are the 3 commands that I need under my D channel. Okay? Then you have the call MGCP configuration, CCM manager redundant host. This should be the publisher because of backup. CCM manager MGCP and the music on hold. Followed by MGCP call agent, that is your active call manager, that is in the real scenario will be subscriber. In our case, whatever the call manager you're working on. Now, DTMF, codec, all mode out of band, and the source address should be bound to your voice VLAN. So whatever, don't put 102 only. Whatever the voice VLAN you're working on your HQ. And if you're not sure about it, type showrun, look at the fast Ethernet that is labeled as a voice VLAN. But don't forget to type the MGCP, because a lot of people, that's one of the things that happens, that they forgot to activate it. Okay? Any questions so far? All right. Key things to pay attention here is the domain MGCP domain name. HQ is the name of the router, but if you have a domain name, cisco.com, ccicollaborations.com, make sure you append that name.